So last night I released my video where I finally unlocked Orion camo, and in that video I was feeling a little indecisive. I was like, I was happy to finally have Orion, but I was just like, I wasn't exactly sure what I was gonna do after that, because up to this point, anytime that I've played Modern Warfare 2, it's been to grind the Orion camo. There have been very few times where I've been able to get on the game and just simply play the game for fun. However, after I made that video, I got on the game and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna play the game for fun, and I had a realization. Modern Warfare 2 is like a million times better when you just try to play the game for fun. I mean, look at my classes. I mean, these are classes that I normally wouldn't be able to run, simple M4 and like Deagle classes, MP7 and Deagle classes. I got a really fun and experimental crossbow and riot shield class and intervention with a G13 class, a fun riot shield and combat knife class anytime that I feel like trolling people a little bit. I've even been able to experiment with weapons a bit more, try out different attachments. I've genuinely just been having so much more fun and have been having a much better time ever since I finished the Orion camo. Like, don't get me wrong, I've always had fun with Modern Warfare 2. I've always loved this game, but like ever since I've been able to just start playing for fun, well, what do you know? I've been having a lot more fun. I've kind of noticed that to be like the trend. Like back in Black Ops Cold War, that was another game where I enjoyed it the whole time and I had a lot of fun playing that game, but like the true fun for that game didn't really start for me until after I finished the camo grind. So now it's having me wonder, is the camo grind really worth it? Like, I'm always gonna go for it every single year, but it's like, I'm starting to realize just how much it diminishes my entertainment and fun that I have with some of these games to a certain extent until I finish those camo grinds and kind of get that like weight off my shoulders. Because now that the camo grind is done, I mean, again, I'm able to go through and play the game for fun, for my own enjoyment. And there's definitely some weapons that I need to get like more camos done for yet, like the crossbow, for example. Originally, I kind of just like tossed that weapon off to the side because I knew trying to get it gold or trying to get it Orion would kind of be a pain. But now that I have the Orion camo, I mean, now I actually kind of want to go back and get this gun Orion because it's actually a lot of fun to use. Am I going to be shrieking out every single game with it? No, of course not, because it's, when you're going up against like an M4 or a shotgun of any kind, it does not even compare. But in order to merit as like a little joke weapon or just like a weapon that you can kind of use for... There is no way he stuck me through the window. There was so much that just had to fall in line with chance right there. Like, how? But it's a fun little joke weapon, kind of similar to like the nail gun or the China Lake from like Black Ops 1 or something like that. You know what I mean? It's one of those weapons it's genuinely fun to use, even if you're not going to be doing that good with it. Maybe I do it to myself, maybe the camo grind would actually be more fun if I wouldn't stress myself out about it. Because again, I mean, I don't necessarily stress myself out about it. It's just that when I think about the camo grind while I'm doing it, it's so daunting. And I don't know if that says more about me or more about the game and the grinds themselves. And honestly, the saddest part about it, most of the grind is actually fine in this game, and most of the grind is actually relatively fun in this game. The only daunting part about the grind that I really didn't like and wish was different was the long shots. Like, up to the long shots, everything was fine. Through the long shots, it was an absolute slog. But once I finished the long shots and I was back to headshots, I mean, sure, I was kind of having fun again because I was just doing the long shots, but at that point, I was so burnt out and I was just so like, oh, I want this to be over, just because I had to do 1,200 long shots back to back to back. And as I was saying in last night's video, a lot of people would say, well, do the long shots as you go. Once you unlock the challenges, go through and do them. But for me, I'd be sitting there the whole time like, oh, I just got done having fun. Now I have to go and do long shots again. It would be a back and forth between having fun and doing long shots. Having fun and then doing long shots. And for me personally, I'd rather just get it knocked out all at once. Because for me, I do YouTube full time. So I have that luxury of being able to play a ridiculous amount of hours per day when it comes to like grinding camos. Because I mean, it's part of my job. So for some folks that can only play for like 2 hours a day, yeah, that strategy probably wouldn't work for them. But for me, where I'm able to squeeze in an obnoxious amount of hours in a day, yeah, it's not that bad because it only took me like 3 or 4 days to do it, but that was still a very long 3 or 4 days. The only reason I got through was because I was listening to like podcasts the whole time. But again, I keep going back to this. Ever since the grind is finished and I've been able to play for fun and just use different weapons in the game, play in different ways, it's just, I don't know, it's been so much fun. I literally feel like a kid again. Playing this game the way that I am now without a care in the world, just playing for fun, it reminds me of the Black Ops 2 days when I'd get on, pick a random gun, and just try and go on streaks, see how many kills I can get. And heck, even in some games, I'm not even worrying about kills, just simply existing in the game is fun enough. And that is honestly how I feel while playing MW2 right now. Like, I genuinely genuinely feel like that same kid again playing Black Ops 2, except now it's Modern Warfare 2, and I'm having so much fun. Now, granted, am I trying to compare this game to, you know, Black Ops 2, which is literally my favorite Call of Duty of all time? No, because I mean, nothing will ever truly replace Black Ops 2 in my heart, because again, it's my favorite of all time. I have so much nostalgia for it. But that being said, it's reminding me of those days, if that makes sense. I was even able to go through and interact with a bunch of parts of the game this morning that I haven't been able to play around with, like DMZ. I played that for the first time this morning, and I had so much fun with it. And then I hopped into a quads match on Warzone, and Warzone still really isn't my thing. I've been really harsh on it up to this point, but after playing this morning, I gave it a fair shake. I hopped into a quads match, and obviously I didn't put my headset on because I'm really antisocial and I don't like talking to people. But there was other people talking in the game, and I was like typing in text chat from time to time, and I had a decent time there. I also want to go back through and hit up some of the co-op missions that I've missed, and just some of the other stuff like the raid that I missed. Just being able to play this game and interact with all the features and different modes and things inside of it, it's really opening my eyes to just how good this game actually is when you give it a fair shake and you try to interact with all the elements in it. If you just focus on the multiplayer and you just focus on the grind, yeah, it's going to get a little daunting. Yeah, it's going to weigh on you after a little while, and it may even feel like it's kind of lacking content in some spots. But once you try to expand and you truly open your mind and your heart to this game and you try to interact with every single aspect and mode in this game, it's honestly kind of mind-boggling just how good, feature-complete, content-packed this game really is. There's a good deal of content in the multiplayer between kill streaks, weapons, maps, and then when you go and interact with Warzone, I've said this before, but then Warzone is basically an entire game in itself. And then you have DMZ, which I can't even explain what DMZ is. It's sort of like Tarkov, if you guys have played that before, but not really. It's really hard to, it's really its own thing, but Tarkov is like the closest thing I can really think to compare it to, but again, it's not even like that. And then you got the co-op missions, which are basically like your traditional Spec Ops, just a little bit different, but those are actually a lot of fun in this game. In fact, I have a lot more fun playing them in this game than I did back in Modern Warfare 2019. The ones in MW 2019 were really unbalanced, and they were a lot harder than they should have been, and I didn't always have that much fun playing those. But in this game, they're a lot of fun. I played a couple of those. Again, I want to go back and, hit up some of the ones that I missed. And then you have the raids, which are essentially like full-length, like zombies Easter eggs, except, not actually zombies. It's really hard to explain what those are, too. I haven't gotten to do the most recent one, but I have played a couple of them, and man, yeah, they're always a lot of fun. They do require a lot of communication, and again, for me, I don't like communication, so I end up usually just like typing in the text chat, and as long as I'm paired up with randoms that know what they're doing, then, it's usually not too bad. But all in all, there's so many unique experiences to be had in this game. There's so much fun to be had with this game, and, I feel like to a certain extent, like, I understand where people are coming from, where it's like, oh man, the game's lacking content, or it's not the same that it used to be, and it's totally fair, understandable, and valid as to why some players, just really don't want to interact with the other parts of the game, and they only want to play multiplayer, and therefore they only see the multiplayer experience for what it is, where, it may not have as many maps as some games from the past, or, some of the variety and some of the different weapons may not be there compared to games of the past, like even in Cold War. But I'm telling you guys, if you guys are feeling like that, just, do what I'm doing, whether you're finished with Orion or not, just simply try to play the game for fun and interact with all the different parts of the game, and I promise you, if you go into it with an open heart and an open mind, and you go into it without any expectations, no pre-biases, nothing like that, just go into it just expecting a fresh experience, and I promise you, you're gonna have so much fun with all the different elements in this game. For me, I've never really been one to complain about stuff like that, because I don't know, when it comes to gamers nowadays, I feel like gamers are just way too critical about so many games that are coming out nowadays, and honestly, a lot of them are just really ungrateful. I feel like a lot of people forget that video games are just supposed to be fun, you hop on, you play, you have fun. So many people are so ungrateful and so critical of what they do receive. Just open up a little bit, be open to experimenting, be open to trying these new things. I promise you'll have more fun than you would have expected, trust me. For me personally, I haven't been able to interact with many other parts of the game outside of multiplayer. Granted, it was my fault, but I was just trying to get the Orion camo done before I did anything else. But now that it's done, and now that I can do literally whatever I want without Orion hanging over my head, it's insane how much fun I'm having with this game. And again, don't get it twisted, I'm not trying to paint a bad image and say that, Orion or camo grinds in general are bad, because look, I got Orion. Clearly, I enjoyed myself to a certain extent. I wouldn't do it if I hated it. It's just that sometimes with the camo grinds, it looms over your head to a certain extent, and where it almost becomes stressful. And if there is one critique to be had, I would say that is the game's fault for even invoking those feelings in the first place, and it's because of the long shots. If I'm gonna be honest, again, out of the entire grind, that's the only bad part. That's the only part that makes it stressful, because you're gonna have to sit there and get those long shots, whether you do it on Shoot House or another map or through another method, you're gonna have to sit there and get those long shots at some point. So if I could have like any recommendations for future games, I would still like to see the long shots still be in place when it comes to the camo challenges, because I do believe that it's part of the magic of doing the camo challenges, because when you do those camo challenges, the main point, it's called a mastery camo, right? It's to show that you've mastered each and every single weapon and class inside of the game to such an extent that most players would never even see or be able to achieve. And I truthfully do believe that long shots do kind of play into that. Like, being able to use your weapon at a certain range does play into your level of mastery with it. So I would say keep the long shots, but tone it back to what they did back in Black Ops 3. In Black Ops 3, you had your headshots and all the other challenges, but when it came to the long shots, you only had to do like between 5 or 10 for each weapon. I would say just do that for each weapon. Just only make us do like 5, maybe 10. Because then at that point, instead of being like this daunting thing where it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to sit on shoot house for days and days on end, instead it'll be like this actually kind of fun thing where it's like, okay, I only gotta do like 5 or 10 long shots. I gotta switch up my attachments. I gotta play a little tactically, and it could have, you know, it would become this kind of like fun and little goofy thing where it's like, oh, I gotta do these long shots real quick, and it, you know, it forces you to play differently. It's just enough to switch it up without becoming daunting or annoying or overstaying its welcome. And I truthfully do believe that that is the only negative part, or the only part of the camo grind that really is an issue at this point, and it's the only thing that really has been an issue in any of these camo grinds up to this point. It really is just those overbearing, tedious long shots. We all know Modern Warfare 3, or whatever the next game is going to be called, is going to be getting announced within the next month or so. So if there's anything I could recommend, it's, well, just everything that I just said. Just tone down the long shots, and overall, I think the rest of them are fine for the most part. Maybe adjust some of the values and the numbers, because at this point, the camo grinds went from being something that were really fun to go for every year to being something where it's like, okay, we got another grind on our hands. And while yes, I feel like nowadays players are able to play more than ever before and they have more time on their hands, at the same time, it's like, I don't know, there's sort of that balance there where, yeah, we have more time to play, and yeah, we're knocking out these challenges faster than ever before, and things that used to seem so big and daunting like Dark Matter, we can knock out in literally just a couple of days nowadays. I don't know, I feel like if they could find a nice middle ground between like those old challenges and the new ones, it would literally be perfect. But where it's at now, it's a lot better this year than it was in previous years, but it's still just slightly overtuned. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know, I'm having an absolute blast with it. Like I said earlier in the video, it's so refreshing. It sort of just makes me feel like a kid again, just not having a care in the world, hopping on the game, shooting stuff for fun, experimenting with different weapons. And that was the big thing, because like, sure, doing the camo grind forced me to experiment with different weapons, but I don't know, to a certain extent, not really. Not in like the free type of experimentation like I'm able to do now, where I can run around, use like basically any gun that I want in any way that I want. I was basically forced to just go on shipment, shoot a bunch of people, level it up, go on shoot house, get the long shots, go back to shipment, finish the challenges. But now I can really run around, experiment with different weapons, see how they perform in different situations, different maps, different ranges, and it's just, I don't know, I feel a lot more free. Anyways, yeah, I don't know, I kind of had like this epiphany after I finished the Orion camo grind last night, and I was sitting there playing, I was sitting there thinking about it, I had my surround sound speakers on, I was just like embracing the game, and I was like, man, this is a lot of fun. And I knew I had to make a video on this and just kind of get that message out there, to just really open up your mind, experiment with different parts of the game. And, you know, if you're feeling kind of caught up in the camo grind, maybe just give it a break. Even if, you know, deep down you're like me and you're like, oh, I can't give the camo grind a break, I gotta do it till it's done. Just trust me, give it a break for a day or two, just try to play for fun, and I promise you, it's gonna feel like an entirely different experience, like an entirely different game. But anyway, as always, a massive shout out and thank you to all the patrons, thank you to all of you in the low baller tier, and an even bigger shout out and thank you to all of you in the big baller tier, Mellow Asking and Big Daddy Manny, and the biggest shout out and thank you of all to all of you in the G tier, Ryder Vengeance and Little Cheese Girl. Thank you guys so much, you guys are literal legends. I love you. Thank you guys for watching, have an amazing day, stay beautiful, I love you all. Peace.